Hello and welcome. Today I'm going to do something that I really should have done 2 years ago. I started this video vlog 2 years ago, and I have yet to do a presentation on the great Harry Houdini. I did one on Robert-Houdin, and you know I have regrets about that because I opted to go for historic facts and figures rather than focus on what was important about Robert-Houdin. And what was important about Robert-Houdin is his contribution to magic. I mean, he is the father of modern magic because of what he contributed. And Houdini makes a significant contribution. He's a controversial character. People look at him through various lenses, and it's popular today to come away saying that Houdini isn't all that we thought he was. But Houdini has been described as the great wave that drives the rest of us being magicians, the great wave that drives the rest of us to the shore. Some have referred to Darren Brown as a new Ted Anneman in mentalism. And in their description of him, they say that he's the tide that rises all boats. Well, I have to tell you, if you ask the average person, a person who is not a magician, a lay person, ask them about magic, and the very first name that pops into their head is Harry Houdini. Despite the success of Doug Henning, despite the success of David Copperfield, despite the success of David Blaine, or Chris Angel, or any Penn and Teller, any modern performer, most laymen still look to Houdini as the epitome of magic. When I took up an interest in magic when I was a kid, my mother started referring to me as Little Houdini. Not because I was doing escapes, but because she associated magic with Houdini, and a lot of people do. And so what I wanted to do in this presentation is focus on the myth of Houdini, specifically the myth, not his life, not his controversy. I mean, another video, I hope to do another video on the Houdini Code mystery, whether or not he actually came back and communicated to his wife after his death. I'd like to do a presentation on that. I'd like to do a presentation on his relationship with Sir Arthur Conan Doyle. But right now I want to focus on the myth, and I'm surrounded by material, and I did this to make a point. I don't necessarily want to show you each and every object, although I might do that. But I did this to make a point. These are books that have been written about Houdini. Books. And listen, this is a fraction. I have more books in my library than are sitting here, and there have been more books written that are sitting here. He is a historic figure that has attracted monumental attention from secular historians, from magicians, from people of all walks of life. They're fascinated with this character by the name of Houdini. To this day, manufacturers of magic come out with this. These are brand new tricks, by the way. Here's a trick. Wayne Dobson, in association with Alan Wong, presents Houdini's Watch by Wayne Dobson. Brand new trick, Houdini's Watch by Wayne Dobson. Here's another one by Wayne Dobson in association with Alan Wong. Houdini's Diary. This is a very interesting diary trick. Diary 1920, Harry Houdini. And, you know, I don't know if you know how diary tricks work, but basically a spectator chooses a diary date at random, and the date in that diary corresponds to a card, and the card happens to be the only odd one in the deck. And so, but my point is that Houdini continues to be a popular name among magicians, such that people who are marketing brand new magic are marketing it with Houdini's name on it, even though he passed away in 1926. And there's some interesting things about Houdini's story. Again, this presentation is not about Harry Houdini. It's not about the man Houdini. It's not about the truth of Houdini. It's about the myth of Houdini. When I was a kid, I heard about Harry Blackstone Sr. I never saw Harry Blackstone Sr. I heard about Harry Blackstone Sr. Harry Blackstone Sr. was a contemporary of Harry Houdini. And I was raised on stories of Harry Blackstone. But when I took up an interest in magic, and this was, I was 8 years old when I did my first show. And from that point on, my fascination shifted from Harry Blackstone to Harry Houdini. The man just became legend to me. Legend. And the legend inspired me very much the way the legend of Robert-Houdin inspired Harry Houdini himself. Houdini was so inspired by the biography of Robert-Houdin that he decided to change his name to Houdini, or Robert-Houdin-like. He admired him that much. And I think so many magicians still coming up today get a hold of this myth in some way, shape, or form, whether it's through a book or through stories or through video. They get a hold of this legend, and it inspires them. And that is what I really owe a debt of gratitude both to Robert-Houdin and to Harry Houdini for being an inspiration to the rest of us. So let me give you a little bit of information about Erik Weisz. Erik Weisz was born March 24th, 1874. He passed away October 31st. This is part of what makes legend, yes? So the story goes, he was punched in the stomach. He had this challenge that he issued. You could punch him in the stomach and he could withstand it. And a couple of college guys came up to him before a show, walloped him in the stomach before he was ready to absorb it, and caused his appendix to rupture. There's some belief or some evidence that perhaps he had appendicitis prior to being punched that day. The punch only aggravated it. At any rate, he decides he's going to go on and perform, even though he's running a very high temperature. He's very sick. He's in pain. His appendix have ruptured. Whether or not he could have been saved had he opted not to go on and perform that night is a matter of debate and discussion, and I have no idea. I don't know if anyone can definitively say one way or the other. But Houdini was a man of great work ethic, and he certainly believed in the show must go on. He was committed to doing a show that night. He went out and performed. Legend has it that he was in the water torture cell, upside down in water, and he had to be broken out, taken to the hospital. Whether or not it actually happened that way, I'm not entirely sure. But at any rate, he lingers for days in the hospital and finally passes away on October 31st, 1926. Every Halloween thereafter, his wife Bess did a seance, hoping that he would come back. When they were in their vaudeville days, when they were in their carny days, they did a mind-reading act, and they had a code. And Houdini told his wife that if he was able to come back, he would communicate a message to her in code. Some say that message was believed, some say it was something else. But in any case, he said he would come back and he would communicate. Whether or not that actually happened is a matter, again, of some debate. But again, this is how legends are made. And this is what is so important. Legend has it that Harry Houdini was bound in chains. He leaped from a bridge, went beneath icy waters, made his escape, but the current under the ice was so strong that it carried him along. And when we went to come back to the surface, he hit solid ice. He tried to get out from under the ice by following air pockets. And during that struggle to get out from under the ice, he encountered his mother, who had not long ago passed away. And that began his quest to go to various mediums to try to reestablish contact with his mother. Again, that's a legend. There is some debate specifically in this book right here that legend is probably not true. But in any case, Houdini himself would have told you, had he been sitting here, it's not what you do, it's what people think you did that really matters. And so these stories, these myths have evolved around Harry Houdini. And what I love about them is not their truth or their fiction, but their ability to inspire awe and to inspire the rest of us to go out and want to perform and want to become magicians. Robert-Houdin has had this impact on many countless magicians as well. And I think this is what we owe to these two people in our history. So, he has been described as a mystery arc. I've never heard that term before until I started studying Houdini. Mystery arc, meaning a person who presides over mysteries. So this is the basic thumbnail sketch of this person's life. But if you want to get to know Houdini better, here's a book by Walter Gibson, Houdini on Magic. Again, I thought this book was fantastic when I read it. I got this when I was a teenager. I devoured it. It gave me insight into the person of Houdini. It inspired me as a magician. Houdini, A Mind in Chains, a psychoanalytic portrait. I'm not going to comment on this. I'm just showing you these to give you a sense of what's out there. This I particularly enjoyed because this was a little bit myth-busting. And I really like to drill down at some point. I mean, I love the myth, but at some point I like to drill down and get to the facts. And this is, let me show you the inside of this book. It is written for kids, you see. The print is very large. The illustrations are quite good. But it's actually not written, it's not exhaustive as some of these other books are. This book right here by Ken Silverman is quite exhaustive. But this book really, this is the first book I read that really drills down and says, could this have happened? Is it likely that it happened? Is it likely that it didn't happen? This book really explores that in some detail. Sid Fleischman, Escape, the story of the great Houdini. Then you have Houdini, The Life and Times of the World's Greatest Magician by Charlotte Montague. And this one I just adore, Doug Henning, who is my inspiration, had such affection for Harry Houdini. Doug Henning built his reputation on doing Houdini's substitution trunk or the Metamorphosis. So Doug went ahead and wrote this book, Houdini, His Legend and His Magic by Doug Henning. Very, very excellent book to pick up if you're thinking about doing some reading on the great Houdini. Then you've got, as I mentioned, this was considered the book on Houdini for quite some time, published by Harper. Houdini, The Career of Erik Weisz by Ken Silverman. Then you have The Secret Life of Houdini, The Making of America's First Superhero by William Kalosh and Larry Sloman. This is the hardback edition of that. And then you have a series of videos. The first one, and perhaps classic, everyone loves this one. This is Tony Curtis and Janet Leigh in Houdini. Wonderful, wonderful story. This particular one, The Great Houdini, starring Paul Michael Glasser, I saw this when I was a teenager. It was one of the films that really inspired the myth in me, that motivated me to study magic more diligently and to become a better magician. And that's what it's all about. When it comes to Robert-Houdin, when it comes to Harry Houdini, really the truth of their story is not so relevant as what that story inspires in us. And this is a very inspirational film. Then you have Jonathan Skeech in Houdini. This one is fairly recent. I really loved it. Adrian Brody in the title role, Houdini, very, very good. This one is, it takes place at the end of Houdini's life. Houdini at this time is an antagonist to spiritualist, and he encounters a beautiful spiritualist in the film. I don't know if the film is based on truth or if it's entirely fiction. I have no idea. But it's called Death-Defying Acts, Houdini's Secret, and it stars Guy Pearce and Catherine Zeta-Jones, and it is just fantastic. So, folks, what I wanted to say today is Houdini is an inspiration. That's what he is. Robert-Houdin is an inspiration. These people continue to be, decades after their passing, they continue to be a force in magic, a force to be reckoned with. Folks, thank you so much for watching. Please subscribe down below if you've not done so already. Please comment. I love your comments. I will respond to those comments. Have a great day.